The following content is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marina Sprocki, and I'm the host of Always Another Way podcast. I have a master's in professional counseling, and I'm the IPPY Award-winning author of Stop Looking for a Husband, Find the Love of Your Life, and Nasty Divorce, A Kid's Eye View. I write positive divorce advice for the HuffPost, and I'm trained in clinical hypnosis. And this podcast speaks to out-of-the-box thinkers, and it's for those who hear the call of hope in Always Another Way. And if you're very rigid and set in your beliefs, this is probably not your cup of tea. However, you should note, tastes can and do change. And I just want to thank you all for listening. And just one more pretty please reminder, if you will, go to iTunes and subscribe to Always Another Way. That's 2 L's with a big phoenix bird on it. And rate it. I would be much appreciated because I have so many guests. We are on episode 72 today. So there is so much good information you can dig through. And today is no different. I am so excited. It's like I have the best guest on every single time. And this is no exception. So, her name is Lacey Pruett. And this book is completely amazing. If you've ever been in a place in your life, there's just so many different things where you felt like, I have it all, but it's not what I wanted, or it doesn't feel like it, or maybe there's more, or maybe I'm doing too much, or am I doing the right thing? And then one of the quotes she has that I think kind of really brings us together is, who needs detox is the public you in line with the private you. And we all know what that means. So, Lacey Pruett is a business owner and yoga teacher. She's passionate about helping women find their best self. And through her own journey from performing for others, hitting a painful wall, stepping off stage for a season of self-awareness, rebuilding true identity, and reassessing purpose, then finally stepping back on stage, confidently whole and performing her best, she wants to help others do the same. As a communicator, TV host, speaker, and educator for over 20 plus years, she's equipped to mentor women of all ages. Her coaching career gained momentum in 2012 when she served as Mrs. Texas, United States, and shared more of her journey in healthy living awareness with a broader audience. She and her husband, Barnes, live in the Dallas, Texas area. They have a Doberman named Maximus and a Corgi mix named Samson. And I've seen them, they're real cute. She also has 2 grown stepchildren, Taylor and Matthew, who live in the Dallas area. And in her free time, she participates in animal rescue efforts in Texas. So welcome to the show, Lacey.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
And I want to just seeing this because I met Lacey a while ago, but she's a beautiful woman, as you can see. And sometimes I know there's like a stereotype when people do stuff like this, like, oh, she's pretty. She can't be smart at all.
Always.
But I assure you, she is very, very intelligent, and this book will knock your socks off. But I just wanted to get through that of like how many times people get that and how people will just, and I've even done this before, like snapshot, like look at somebody and you just think like you got them sized up. And
Absolutely.
I learned early on to not do that.
Absolutely.
Because you never know.
You never know. And I've surprised some of my close girlfriends. They've come back now after several years saying, oh my gosh, I thought you were so this way. And they labeled me and it was so not what I turned out to be. So it's a nice surprise. Go surprise people.
Right?
It's fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love this book. I mean, just in reading, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, did she live part of my life? Or these thoughts and feelings that are the same? And all these like psychology bomb droppings you like throw through there. But what I want to know is what propelled you to think like, I should put this in a book?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've always had writing in my heart. I was always trying to figure out what my story is. I'd never wanted to put myself out there, especially in a vulnerable way, because I come from a background of being on stage. And so for the foreseeable past, I was always judged and overly judged. And I felt like I always had to be in a certain box or I was going to make somebody mad. Even as a child, I remember thinking, okay, I learned what garners the right response, and I want to do more of that. And then I also learned what garnered this response I did not like, and I definitely didn't want any more of that. So I learned how to live for others. And it's sad to think about, but it's good awareness to have as you grow up. So the book is really a journey through identifying, who are you living for? What stages do you perform your roles on? Everybody plays roles in their life. The concept of living on stage, people automatically think, well, I'm not a performer, so that's not me. Sure it is. We all have a life, a stage life that we perform on. You want to do your best in the roles that you have in life. So the book is just a journey through identifying your core desires versus what you learn out there.
I love that. I love it. And then so with that, so how long did it take you to put this all together? And was there any point where you're like, nope, not gonna do it?
Of course. Yeah. Yes. I wanted to throw it in the towel so many different times. I have to tell you a funny story. I have thrown away copies of that book. I have thrown away chapters of that book. I even had a burning ceremony at my home one night. I was running through, I think it was chapter 4. And when you're writing a book, especially your own journey, emotions pop up out of nowhere. And it's good, I think it's healing to get stuff out on paper, but not everybody needs to read everything you put on paper. I think it's therapeutic to get it out of your head and then get rid of it. And so I was throwing away different versions of this because for whatever reason, it didn't sit with what I wanted to be in that final book. But one night, I just took it to our outdoor fire pit because there's some difficult, painful moments in the book. And it re-energized those painful moments in my real life. And so I wrote down what I was angry about, and then I just threw it away because we don't have any time to sit in anger, any negative emotion. I think it just takes from our life. So I burned it. And then I put the good concepts in the book and I kept them around. But some of those pages that were pretty painful for me, I just burned them. And then we moved on. Nice. The whole process, when I got serious about writing the book and making it something of value that's going to be published, I would say about 4 months. But I was meticulous about time blocking. I wrote for 45 minutes to an hour every morning. My household knew that was my time. It was sacred. And when you're disciplined and focused on finishing something that you want to finish, it happens.
That's right.
Yep.
It sure does. And then thinking about that, because you do share a lot of interesting personal stuff in there. And then you said you took some out, but then how are you with all those things in there?
Well,
do they come back up again, or you're just I've kind of worked through that, and then this is an example of something?
It's funny. I got surprised a few times while writing the book, but I feel like I've healed from everything that's in the book. It was a journey to move through, and some of the journey I share with others, but those are my stories. That's my journey through life. I love when readers tell me they're reading my story and they're able to say, oh my gosh, I felt like that. The details may be different, but I remember that emotion. That fires me up, and it makes it easier to put yourself out there. But I also feel you don't need to put everything out there, your whole life story, painful moments in your life. Not everybody deserves to know your most sacred moments of your life. Don't give that to everybody. That's not for them to know. Some people in my life, I have a core group, they deserve to know, because I need some help. I need their help working through some stuff. But I don't think it's really safe to put your entire self, your entire truth out there all the time. That's not healthy.
I totally agree. That's boundaries.
Boundaries,
absolutely.
boundaries.
And you're right. You just said it there when you said, choose the select people that you will know and support you, because you put something out there that's super vulnerable and you just get super attacked, and it sets you up for things versus people when you say something. And you address that in your book too, which is what and what I really like about this book too is the way she's just set it up. So it's extremely user friendly from the intro to what you can do, and then some space that you can write in it too. Yes. Which was just really, really nice.
I wanted the book to be interactive. It is a journey. I'm not telling you a story and just wanting you to take my story and say, oh, that was entertaining. I want you to dive in, and I want it to matter in your life. I want you to think about this stuff. And I do put cue cards in. The whole book has a stage theme around it. So a cue card is something that an actress gets when I do commercial work. And when you do that kind of work, they give you your cue cards. And that's where you get to decide what kind of character notes you're gonna put in the cue card. So I give you those spots to take notes in your own life. And again, they're sacred to you, but I want it to be interactive.
Very, very nice. Okay, now I wanted to see what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So from before the book and now, even though you've gone through those things, would you say you've made a change of having accomplished it?
Out there, I feel like so there is a sense of accomplishment, but even more so, it opened up a vulnerable side of me that I never really allowed people to see. And I found that it brought me closer to people, especially women in my life. I've connected on a deeper level through some of the painful moments. And it's more of a, oh my gosh, that happened to you, me too. Oh my gosh, I thought I was alone in this situation, but you're there. And when I read it, it gave me permission to be more of me. That's awesome. Yeah. That's my pride with publishing the book.
Yeah, and as you said that just made me think of that when you talk about women and being more vulnerable too, and then we'll go back to the really pretty thing and doing all that. And you know how some people can be like, oh, well, she's not going to be interested in me or won't do anything, or she's just got this perfect life. I mean, I know I've done that with some people like, oh, and she's got this.
Which is fine. I love seeing the best of everybody around me. That's great. But don't judge yourself by somebody else's highlight reel.
Yeah.
Judge yourself by being a real person. Just judge each other equally, or at least bring your highlight reel to the table.
Yeah.
Make sure you meet yourself at the table too and say, okay, yeah, that's some reason for people just to tear on those, and then more good stuff's going to come your way.
I like that because that negative self-talk, and you talked about that, how much did that negative self-talk kind of affect you, in the growing up, and from that, even though you had these other achievements, but then the biggest critic?
Oh, it was crippling. It's crippling, and I'm not being overly dramatic about that. What I heard was only criticism. So imagine if you're running a race. I'm a runner, and I imagine you're running a marathon, and nobody ever gives you permission to step off the path. You need to keep running, and you need to do it this way. And you're not good if you step off to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. So go, go, go. You hit a breaking point where, for me, I just said, I'm done. I want to just end it all. I don't want to be here anymore. If this is a life, I don't want it anymore. I can't do it. I'm never good enough. It'll never be enough that I do. I had a pinnacle moment in my life where I thought, by the world standards, I'd accomplished the most. I had hit the top tier, I guess, if you will, with everything I was doing. And I remember that moment thinking, I'm still not good enough. That's hard on a girl. It's hard on a girl. It's hard on anybody. But on a little girl especially, somebody needed to be around to say, you know what, you're worthy no matter what you do.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I mean, and what a good message if we all had known that. Because me too, is just thinking oh, if I'm not as good, and then you see somebody else and you're like, oh man, I didn't go to Harvard, or I didn't.
It's still not enough.
Whatever it is.
It
doesn't matter.
Even that amazing thing you did over here, it's still not enough.
Yeah, because somebody will, there's always going to be somebody smarter, richer, pretty, whatever.
Always.
And then somebody always here, but that's not the game.
Well, and why are we comparing? Yeah. Again, why, if I could leave one note to women, especially everywhere, I focus mainly on women, why are we comparing ourselves? Really want her to do well in her life. She really needs to want you to do well in your life. The world needs more strong women, am I right?
Oh my gosh.
Let's get more women stepping into their power. Yeah. Let's stop.
No bitches.
No, right? Let's stop judging each other for what we're all trying to accomplish in the long run anyway.
Yeah.
It does feel better to lift somebody else up. Even people you don't really get along with or you're not aligned with, still wish them well.
Yeah.
That you want that for yourself. You want that energy. So still wish them well.
Yeah, and so let's go into that a little bit about when you're with people together, and then you talk about this too a little bit, then you find that there are some people that you get around that can influence you one way or another. How do you gracefully you mentioned this too, we're in a circle of people and you still have to be your public and getting in there.
Right.
How do you work around, save your energy and also, make sure you're aligned in the right place. And when did you figure that out? That like, maybe I need to like redo some things.
Well, I would say when I called off my second engagement, I thought, okay, I am trying to please everybody else except me. And then that panic sets in, and I guess my spirit's talking to me about what I really want, and it's all not aligned. So I'd say when my life just shattered in front of me, I thought, okay, this isn't going to work long term. So let's do something different. Understatement, right?
Yeah.
Let's do something different. Let's entertain some different things. For me, the big game changer was boundaries. I truly just did not have boundaries. Nobody stopped me growing up and said, Lacey, this is how you need to take care of yourself. Yeah. This is the boundaries you need to put up. This is the wall you need to put up. I learned stranger danger, but that's about where it ended. And there's so much more about boundaries, about putting walls up against painful people, harmful people. Not everybody wants to be your friend. And it's also putting up some boundaries around what you're going to put up with from other people and what you're going to put up from yourself. I was my own self-critic. So I think for a season, I was so hard on myself that I started attracting all of these really critical people in my life. Well, I started learning about self-love and started taking care of myself. Guess what came into my life? More nurturing people who were on my side, who were there to tell me, hey, you know what? You're worthy right here no matter what you do. I know you want to accomplish this goal, but you have worth to me and value to me right now.
Oh, I love that.
So great. Yeah. Bring more of that on.
Right. And that does make you go higher when you have somebody that says that, because everybody, you can't just go, trajectory is never like this. It's like
all around,
up, down, up, down. And when on the audio, I was just doing hand movements of up and down.
Well, and we're both pretty animated with our hands, aren't we? And you were asking, we don't get, when you walk out that door, you don't get your favorite environments all the time. You don't get all of your preferences all the time. My husband and I are in an industry where we have to be in the public, and not everybody's going to be your cup of tea. So this by no means means you can't function in the real world with differing opinions or differing personalities. You know when to put that wall up. You know when to put the boundaries in place. I have this thing that I do after I leave my home. My home is my sacred, just peaceful place. I feel very safe there, and I know my worth and my value. So I want to keep that with me when I step outside of my door. So I put this white light around me. I know I'm pretty spiritual. I know somebody's always looking out for me. Well, I take their protection, their armor with me. So it doesn't matter what I interact with out there, outside that door, I'm equipped and prepared. And then in the book, I talk about this toolbox concept. When you go through life and you heal from whatever life's thrown your way, you learn these tools that you get to go back to and reference. Well, keep that toolbox close. We all keep our purses close by and everything. Make sure you leave the house with your toolbox. You know what works for you. Keep learning new stuff. That's how you're able to handle whatever comes your way. Yeah.
And at one point you talked about you go to this retreat, which really wasn't something you'd done before.
Right, no.
And how did you get encouraged to be because I know we're all, when we're used to something and when things are different,
yes,
it's scary because or at least for me, what if I made fun or if I do it wrong?
Right.
Somebody looks at me or whatever that is in there. How did you get to the point where you're you know what, I'm just going to take a chance and I'm going to just do this?
Pain was a motivator for me. I remember I was in a very painful place in my life. Nothing really was going my way. Mm-hmm. But I know now that I probably wasn't looking at anything the right way either. And I was definitely chasing things that didn't align with my core values. So I was raised Christian Catholic. There was always a lot of rules. And it kind of led into, I didn't ever do anything right. I was I don't know that I was rebellious as a child, but I was very curious. And I always asked questions, and I wanted to know what all this was about and what would happen if I did this. So I was that kind of a girl. Yeah. Well, growing up, I got really tired of all the rules. And I'm not saying that there's not a place for rules. I think it's appropriate. We all have to function in this world together. Yeah. But you shouldn't be so rigid with your life that there's no room to bring in some magic, some curiosity. And that's when the retreat came to my mind, a good friend of mine who at the time I said was a little out there. Mm-hmm. Well, I've changed my mind on that. I think she's fascinating. Mm-hmm. But she wasn't aligned with how I was raised and what spirituality meant to me And all that got a little jumbled. And I sure as heck wasn't going to talk about her to my family or to my friends, because that would be super weird, right?
Yeah.
All these judgments, all these labels, it's crazy. She and I have great friends still. But she came to me with the concept of a goddess retreat. Are you kidding me? A goddess retreat? Nobody, and add that to the list, nobody ever sat me down and said, Lacey, you're a goddess. I missed that. I wish I would have been in that class. But there is this idea that we're made for a purpose. We're made for a powerful purpose. You've got to find what that purpose is. And it may not look like everybody else around you. So I started opening up my mind. So I was in a lot of pain for different reasons. I don't want to be in pain anymore. There's a big life to live out there. I want to make decisions that really do serve me in the future. I want to live a long life, happy life, and I want to make a difference. So I opened up my heart to her and I said, okay, I remember saying, I'm going to trust you temporarily, and then we'll see where this goes. But I said, I'll sign up. And so I signed up for the retreat. Eye-opening. And P.S., God's in all of it.
Yeah.
I don't know why in my brain I thought, oh, you have to be Christian Catholic or you're that other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not aligned. God's everywhere. For me, I don't know if that's a belief thing or not, but God is everywhere. So everything I learned at that goddess retreat got me closer to my relationship with the Lord. And so that was kind of an aha moment for me to stop judging myself. I'm talking to myself now. Stop judging. God's sending these people in my life that may look a little different from my teachers of the past. Oh, well, don't judge them. Let them share what they know, and then see how it sits with you. Now, some of the stuff, I mean, we learned a lot at that retreat. Some of the stuff really didn't resonate with me. I thought, okay, this is neat, but I was open-minded, and I took what served me. I took what sounded good to me, what I knew I could implement, and then I just let the rest go. But it was always so much love, and I love that.
I know, what a nice thing to do, that you can do that.
Yes.
You don't have to take everything all at once, like this works for me, this doesn't. Just, you're not going to use it.
Isn't that freedom? I don't know why I thought I had to make everything work for me. Sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good. I don't want any more
And it's
of that.
not good or bad, it's just not for you.
It's just not for me. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good transition to make, is it's awareness that just because it works for her doesn't mean it's going to work for you, and vice versa. Again, it goes back to some of the judgment and the critical things that people place on you.
Yeah, and then another thing, but you can still read this book and get a ton out of it. We're just like Tiffin, but it's the whole program that goes together, is that trusting your intuition about things and what you feel, and how that aligns with judgment, how you can kind of change that judgment from the just looking to feeling. And what difference did that make when you started to shift your focus that way?
Huge. You want to hear something amazing?
Yeah.
I do. Of course I do. And it's just for everybody out there. I do something now in my everyday life. I have a vision of my inner self. And so the concept of your inner self, some people call it, your inner child. It's your intuition. It's that voice inside of you, who you really are. Higher self. They have different words for it. But I picture this 6-year-old little girl, because I feel that's really where everything started to go bust in life. I picked 6 because I can see myself at that age, and right now my inner child is this 6-year-old blonde-haired curly girl. Marina, I don't want to let her down. So to answer your question, when I get into a place in this world, in this life, where something's not feeling right, I really take it internal and go, okay, what do I really want? What am I really supposed to learn? What do I really need to take away from this? What does that little girl want? Because I'm still her. I'm just a little bit more mature and I have some fine lines now. Yeah. But I want to take care of her so badly that I won't put myself in harm's way anymore. I just won't go there. So I acknowledge my intuition, my inner child every day. And she really does tell me, nope, that's not for you. Or, yep, go do that.
I love that.
Yes, it's fun.
Really, really love that.
It really, there's a lot of games. It's all these go-tos and tools. You've got to make it fun too. Just go out there and play. When I got back into when I got back on stage after all of this work, I told my husband, I was like, I'm scared because all those critical people are still going to be out there. Am I going to go back to this dark place that I was? And he said, Lacey, have fun with it. Go practice. I was like, again, why am I making this so difficult? Just walk out that door and go practice. and you learn. This is awareness, and you move forward.
I love that practice. Like
Go
just
practice.
that word of like, just go practice and have fun. Because
Yeah.
it's your perception, right?
It is totally my perception. I need to take the edge off of me.
Yeah.
I do, yes. It's like the frequency concept. You're not going to ever hear George Strait on the pop station. If you want to hear George Strait, you've got to move your frequency to the country music station. So why do we expect to hear something on one frequency that we're not in tune with?
Yeah.
So go get there, and you'll get more of what you want.
Exactly.
I don't know why George Strait came to mind.
Well, he's a good singer, and he is on the country
He
station.
is, yes. One of my favorites, yes.
And so what else? Is there any other like stories or something or things you just want to give to people out here?
Well, I like, women are in my heart. I had a rough go with my personal story around women. I don't have children of my own. It just wasn't in the cards for me. And to be honest, I think I started too late. Yeah. I just think it didn't come naturally. And when I learned how hard it was going to be to have my own children, I made the choice just not to go there. Right. There's a big world out there. I feel in some ways I am just getting started with so much good work. Part of my legacy is probably writing more books. It's leaving this good feeling with other women. Yeah. But for a season, I thought women were the enemy. So when I learned kids weren't in the cards for me, oh well. I did have some sadness around that. I went through a bout of depression over it, but then thankfully I did some work on my heart and I realized there are some positives. But I was okay with the decision myself. The judgment I got from other women for a while was super painful. Because not only was I going through a broken heart inside, that was one of those things I didn't share with many people, but I was going through this brokenheartedness. I was also getting the words like, well, you don't know what busy is, you're not a mom, or what do you mean, what are you talking about? You don't know anything until you're a mom, or you don't know what unconditional love is, or you don't know pain. I was like, ouch,
and
ouch,
how does anybody
ouch,
know
ouch.
what you feel?
I know. I was like, it's just judgment, ouch. It's just critical. And so I want to leave with women open-mindedness.
Yeah.
We all have our story, and guess what? The emotional circle, we've all experienced grief. We've all experienced pain. I have birthed new ideas. I know what it's like to let go of a loved one. I know what it's like to really love unconditionally other loved ones. I know what it's like to run in front of a bus for all of my nieces and nephews, which I would very likely do. I hope I'm not ever in that position, but we know we share these same emotions as women. We need to start letting the judgment off.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean because there are plenty of women we know that are crappy mothers. Because I have some of their clients in my office. And so just because you can doesn't mean you should. And
doesn't mean you should, yeah.
And it's okay if you don't want to, choose to for not any other reason. And I do remember this now because we talked about this, but there was a post, but it was somebody else's quote. But I put it up. But it was about your legacy is every life you've ever touched. And we had talked about that, but that, and then it circled back to me around that children conversation. Yes. And if you even just think about like people that we know through all ages, I don't even know if half these people had kids or not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, or some people do that, and that is not what it is, but it's absolutely how you make people feel, and you can have a legacy for forever. And also kids are separate people, and anybody who thinks that's something of them, you are your own person. You are somebody's child, but you are you.
Yes.
You know?
And I've done some work with some organizations in town with parent-children relationships that just hasn't gone well, and it's been abusive, and just being on the reactive end of that and trying to fix a broken child really opened up my eyes to, again, what you said earlier, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I don't think it's for everybody anymore, but it's more of my message to people is give others the option. You don't know how many times I've heard my worth comes from children. My worth, the greatest thing a woman can do is birth a child. Oh, well, ouch.
Yeah.
What am I here for?
Well, exactly. I mean, that's not true. And
no, I don't believe so either.
You know, and also who's to say what you feel and what's most important, because everybody doesn't have the same goal of what's most important. That's crazy.
Right. And it's gone full circle. Some of my favorite fans now and readers have been busy moms. And again, I tell myself, what a great opportunity I have, because I do have this passion behind sharing a message. I do have this energy around that. I know busy moms get exhausted. We do it to ourselves. We exhaust ourselves.
Yeah.
There's always something to do. I'm in a position to inspire them to be a better version of themselves. And I don't take that lightly. And so I love when I hear from mothers who got something out of my book, little old me with no kids.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, I think men can read this book and get the same thing. I mean, all of these,
Yep.
because it's feelings based and achievement based. And I think as humans,
It is, yeah.
lots of people really do feel like all of these very similar things.
I get fan mail now.
Mm-hmm.
I got a fan mail from a gentleman who bought the book and let me know how it resonated with him. And with respect to his story, he really shared some difficult things that I didn't realize men went through.
Yeah.
I guess I've just been so centered on women. I didn't realize men had some of these pressures on them, but they do. And on a side note, I don't think this world gives men permission to break down.
Of course not. Yeah.
So they have to stay stoic, and some men are even in some really tough, painful positions. So the fact that men get something out of the high performance detox too
Oh, absolutely.
gives me some inspiration for some future projects.
Yes. Well, let's talk about that. So now
Sure.
let's talk about everything you do.
Oh,
So
boy.
if somebody wants to
Yep.
get a hold of you, see you, buy your book. We're just going to go all down the list. And then I'm going to
Awesome.
put it in the show notes too. So
Okay.
you'll see it there.
Wonderful. Well, my deal is health and wellness. So I am a yoga teacher, and I am a writer now, and I do some speaking around town. I just now starting to get back on stage myself. So if somebody wanted to find out more about what I do, it's all at laceypruett.com. Amazon's been really good to me too. I have an author page on Amazon. I think it's just search my name, Lacey Pruett, and you can find anything you want. So it's really I'm pretty conversational about everything I'm working on too. So I'm on Instagram. I am on Facebook. I had a love-hate with social media there for a while, but I do feel like if you stay on the positive side of social media, it brings you relationships that you're meant to have.
Yeah.
And maybe you're in another state. Maybe it's somebody that you wouldn't pass in the grocery store, but I've made some really good relationships with people through those social media channels. So I'm going to keep that up too.
Awesome.
Why not?
Well, I just want to thank you just so much. Did we miss anything else before we totally wrap up?
I want
'Cause
to.
we got more. Keep going.
We
Keep
do.
going. We got time. We got time.
I want to talk about new perspective. What readers can gain
Yeah.
from the book.
Let's do it.
My hope when people read this book, and my heart is with women, I want them to know that there's hope out there. There's somebody else who gets what they're going through. I want to share to let one or two people in. I think a lot of women suffer alone because we see other people's highlight reel. We feel like their life is just spot on 100%, and it could put people in a really lonely place. I know for me it did. I came from a performing background. Well, when I stepped off stage to do a lot of this really hard work, I felt like I couldn't compete. So I didn't put anything out there, and I saw people and I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? I'm just over here healing, which is a super important part of your life, but you don't necessarily need to do it in a public, situation or a public forum. I want women just to acknowledge that their life, their journey, all of it has purpose, and it also is the highlight reel, if that makes sense. Our stories, our power comes from sharing our story. And so the sooner you can drop the ego, the pride, and share some of what makes you authentically you, I think we'll see greater women's groups come to play. So women's groups were one of those things that were just petrifying to me for a while. I think I just didn't feel like the average woman or the popular woman, so I didn't think I belonged. When I first went to a women's group after I'd done some healing, I learned it's not about me. I was there as a vessel, if you will, because I needed to help them through something. So here it was kind of egotistical. I was thinking, I'm supposed to gain something out of every situation I'm in. Well, sometimes you are. Sometimes we need to be fed. But there's also some situations you're in where you need to be there just to be a help to this woman over here, to this person over here. So don't sell yourself short. Just because you're not doing some great, grand thing that brag about, go help somebody else be more of them, who they authentically are. I want this sisterhood to come back. I had this concept growing up with good friends, good sisterhood friends, and I didn't feel any judgment. Something happened, I guess, when I got out into society and I was supposed to be doing this at a certain time, this at a certain time, have this role by a certain time, and I was missing the mark. I was doing things my own way. And I didn't find any value in doing things my own way because I just felt so lost.
Yeah.
Let's get back to that sisterhood on the playground where I just liked you for who you are and that you could climb the monkey bars. And guess what? I want to learn how to climb like you do.
Yeah.
Let's go do that. I remember the girl that taught me how to do a cartwheel for the first time. Well, let's get back to that.
And it's so much nicer when you have that real connection with people and you can share, and that we're all, like you said, lifting each other up, not in a competition, but seeing who people really are, and just in kindness goes such a long way.
When you feel that sting of jealousy pop in, instantly sit with yourself, sit with your inner child and go, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? Stop judging her. You'll automatically stop judging her for being who she is. Find out what you're supposed to learn from that. And it'll teach you some stuff about yourself where next time you'll be able to say, go kick ass, girl.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cussed.
Oh, you can say it. It's a podcast. You can say that all day long.
You'll see that girl just really owning her space in the world, and you'll say, that's awesome. I'm going to be more like that.
Isn't that nice when you can do that? Be like really happy for other people.
Yes.
To me, that feels good too, to see somebody else do well.
Yes.
And then it inspires me to sometimes I think she could do it. I could do it too.
Absolutely. With your own story, with your set of skills, you should go out there and just rock and roll. Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Any other things we want to bring up, talk about?
I would love for everybody to just know their value. We talk so much about, even this is an accomplishment for me, and thank you so much for letting me share it. But
It's so good. It really is. It's just, I think it can be totally life-changing for somebody. Absolutely.
Well, I believe it can too, because it has been for me. And some of the feedback I've gotten, I really hope that it helps people lift up to their next level, to their higher self. Thank you. Yeah. Just let more of that be seen in the world. Just know that you have value right from where you are, and whatever happens in the future, great. It's icing.
Love that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is truly, truly, truly hope and a high performance detox book from Lacey. So for all of you listening, don't forget to look in the show notes where you can find Lacey Pruett's book, High Performance Detox. It is a simply amazing book. It's inspiring, it's intelligent, and it's step by step, so you can go through, learn, do, and you will be a changed person when you finish reading it. So, there is always another way.